We're back with another episode of Mac Stories Unwind, the show that's all about the picks. Last week we did a show all about our televisions, and today we're going to talk about what we've been watching on them. This episode happens to be brought to you by Backblaze. Federico Vitici, how you doing?
I'm doing good, John. How are you?
Doing really well. Federico, we have been putting those TVs to good use. Is yours set up? I actually don't even know this. I assume that you're watching on your new TV, but maybe you're not.
I'm not. I gotta go pick it up and set it up. I believe it arrived. We have it on hold at the electronics store where we got it, but we gotta pick it up and set it up. But we haven't done that yet. So yeah.
Well, mine's all set up.
No, really?
Yeah, it's all set up. I mean, we've had it set up for, I guess, a little over a week now. And I've got the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 connected, as well as the Apple TV 4K. So, yeah, I've been really enjoying it. I mean, we were very busy last week, didn't watch as much TV as usual. But this week, been in recovery mode a little bit, and I watched a fun movie. And this is very much one of those. There's certain movies that I will watch that I know aren't particularly good movies, but they're just fun anyway. Fast and Furious series, kind of in that genre, for instance. But this week, I watched a Michael Bay movie called Ambulance.
Oh, this sounds fun. Okay.
All right. This reminds me a lot of a movie, the Keanu Reeves movie Speed. Do you've seen Speed probably with Sandra Bullock?
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah, it was from a long time ago, but it's very similar in that it's about two brothers. One's black and one's white. And you might wonder, well, how did that happen? Well, one of them was adopted. The thing about it is that it's this weird contrived relationship between these two guys. It's almost like they found two actors they wanted to have in this movie, and they thought, we need a shorthand way to make them seem close. So we're going to make them brothers, because that way we don't have to explain why they have a close relationship. It could just be that they're good friends, right? That they grew up together and went to school, but that would require time and attention that would take away from the chase scenes.
It's sort of like it's a short way to say, hey, they are related. There's nothing more you need to know.
Right, exactly. It's like they're brothers, so you know that they're close. That's kind of what it's all about, because the two brothers get themselves in trouble with a bank robbery. This is all about bank robbers. Okay. And the backstory doesn't really matter that much. I mean, one of the brothers was trying to get out of the business, there was like a crime family kind of situation. And one of the brothers was trying to get out, went off to the army, served in Afghanistan, and eventually came back. But then he's having, problems because his wife needs surgery and he doesn't have money because he doesn't have a job. And so he's looking for money, and he goes to his brother for money. And his brother said, you know what? We're about to go on a bank robbery. Come with us and I'll give you a bunch of money. That's literally the 2 minutes that the movie explains what's going on. That's what's going on, is that the guy needs money. He goes to his brother. His brother says, hey, you're in luck. I was just going out to rob a bank just now. Come with me and I'll give you millions of dollars. So they go on a heist together. And what happens is that through a series of events of going into the bank and stealing the money, it's like $36 million.
Wow, okay.
A cop gets shot. And the reason I brought up Speed is that it's very much like that, where the cop gets shot, the two bank robbers end up in the ambulance that the cop is in, driving it to try to get away from the police. And the reason the police can't just like ram his car and capture them quickly is that they don't want to hurt the policeman who's been injured and shot in the back of the ambulance. That's the whole thing, right? So he's in the back. He's like a bomb. He might as well be a bomb, right? It could be anything that keeps the police at bay from the actual ambulance. And so he's in the back. He's in grave condition. And one of the paramedics is back there with him. And
so how many people are in this ambulance?
There's the two criminals and the paramedic and the policeman. So it's just 4 people.
So four people in the ambulance. Okay.
Yeah. And they're racing all over Los Angeles. And I I got to give it to Michael Bay that he actually made a 2.5-hour car chase. I mean, this is a long movie for one.
So they never leave the ambulance?
No, they never leave there's a couple of spots where they get out very, very briefly, but for the most part, no, they're just racing around the city at high speed, trying to, and this is where like reality, on the one hand, they don't want to ram the ambulance. The police don't want to because they don't want to hurt the policeman. On the other hand, they're driving at like 100 miles an hour and going over ramps and, doing these tight turns through the city streets, things that would, throw you all around the inside of an ambulance if you weren't nailed down. But it's a lot of fun. It's, Michael Bay knows how to really film explosions and car crashes and all that kind of stuff. But the characters, there's not a lot of depth here, is what I'm going to tell you. There aren't like these incredible characters. I mean, one of the things that sets up the paramedic storyline at the beginning is that they show her rescuing this little girl who was in a car accident and was injured. And at the very end of the movie, the little girl makes a reappearance at the end. And Jennifer and I both looked at each other and were like, who is this little girl? And we didn't even remember over the course of 2 hours that, that's the little girl who got hurt at the beginning of the movie. It was like, because they were so inconsequential as characters throughout the movie that the storylines didn't really matter that much. But that said, there's helicopters chasing the ambulance. There's police cars chasing the ambulance. There are Latino gang members helping them out at various points, creating like these remote control cars with Gatling guns in them that are shooting at the police. And I mean, it's just complete chaos. It's like a war zone in downtown Los Angeles during rush hour.
Wow. And the logo of the movie, in the LA in the word ambulance, is in color.
Yeah, it's in green, I think, right? Yeah. Ambulance. Get it? LA. Yeah. Yeah. It's
where can people find this movie?
It's for rent on iTunes right now. So you can, I'm sure it's available for rent in other places like Amazon as well. But I picked it up as a like $6 rental on iTunes. It's fun. It was one of those days. It was been a long day, and we thought, let's watch something silly. We picked up some movie candy over at the grocery store nearby, and actually had a movie night on our new TV, which was kind of fun.
What does? Let me ask you. So obviously, this is the kind of movie that I want to watch because it's something that it very much sounds like something that allows me to turn my brain off for a couple of hours.
100%.
Yeah, very nice. But let me ask you, what does Jennifer think of the new 4K TV?
I think, if you asked
her, did she say anything?
Like, not really. She finally caved and agreed that we should get it, or we could get it, I guess is more accurate. She likes it, but I think if you asked her whether she noticed it being any better than the old one, she'd say, no, it looks the same to me. But it's a lot better than a 1080p TV. And it's working out really well. So, and it was good for that kind of movie. Was perfect for this.
Very nice. Okay.
This episode of Mac Stories Unwind is brought to you by Backblaze. Unlimited computer backups for Macs and PCs for just $7 a month. Back up your documents, music, photos, videos, drawings, projects, all of your data with Backblaze. Access your backed up data from anywhere in the world using their web app or their mobile app on iOS or Android. Or you can restore by mail, getting a flash key or a hard drive with all of your data shipped right to your door. They even have a restore, return, refund program. Buy a hard drive to restore your data, then send the hard drive back within 30 days and get a full refund. Worried about accidentally deleting files? You can even purchase an extended retention history of a full year for just $2 a month more. Over 55 billion files have been restored for customers of Backblaze. That's an enormous amount of files and a lot of experience. I've been using Backblaze for years and absolutely love it, and they've even purchased subscriptions for my kids when they've gone off to school. You can get a free, fully featured, no credit card required trial by going to backblaze.com/MacStories today. Visit backblaze.com/MacStories so they know where you came from and will continue to support the show. If you go to that URL, you can start your fully featured 15-day no credit card required free trial right away. Go there, play with it, start protecting yourself from potential bad times starting today. Again, that's backblaze.com/MacStories. Our thanks to Backblaze for their support of the show.
Well, unfortunately, I haven't had much time to, really relax. In this past couple of weeks, it's been a really busy for me couple of weeks between work stuff and home stuff. But something that Sylvia and I have done is something that we've sort of meant to do for a long time, which is watch Mad Men again. So Mad Men is the period drama from a few years ago. It aired on AMC from 2007 to 2015 for 7 seasons.
Wow.
We watched Mad Men through the course of its run on AMC, and we watched the final episode when it aired in the US. And it's been a few years now. And for a while now, we've been discussing this and saying, I think watching Mad Men now, we would appreciate it more because we're older, because we know English better than in 2007, especially the first few seasons. We wanted to see if our theory was correct. Like, if we watch Mad Men now that we are 34 almost, would we appreciate it more and its nuance and its subtle, description of themes like racism and gender differences and inequalities in America in the late 50s and the early 60s. Now, we are 3 episodes in, and the answer is yes, we are appreciating Mad Men more. In case you never watched Mad Men or you're not familiar with it, never? Oh,
never.
John,
I watched like 1 episode maybe or 2 episodes ever.
Nah, really?
No, I know. You got to fill me in. You got to convince me that I should take it up all these years later.
So Mad Men, first of all, it's called Mad Men. This is explained in one of the first slides right after the intro of the first episode, is this fictional term that advertisers working on Madison Avenue in Manhattan, this term that they used to refer to themselves. Mad as being short for Madison, and men because they were mostly men. So that's the subject of the story. The advertising industry in New York, and I guess in America, because later there's other agencies, but the advertising industry in America right there at the very end of the 50s and the early 60s. Mad Men covers about a decade from, it spans the time period from March 1960 to November 1970. So 10 years depicted in 7 seasons. The central, and yes, the sort of the central theme of Mad Men is telling the story of America in that decade as seen through the lens of advertising and the people making advertisements, which is a really clever gimmick, I think, to explain and let you reflect on some of the biggest societal changes from that decade, right after the economic boom following World War II, and leading into the cultural changes of the 60s and the mid 60s leading up to the 70s. How do you explain those changes in American life without having it be like the classic documentary? Advertising is a really clever lens to explain that, because it's through often the idea is that in advertisements, you can see society change, right? And that gimmick really works for all the 7 seasons of Mad Men. And what's fascinating about it is that I believe all of the advertising campaigns in Mad Men are actually like real campaigns from the time, but obviously the protagonists of the story are fictional characters, but the campaigns are real. And what's fascinating is that you really see through the span of the 7 seasons, even the products that the agency, the main agency, where all the protagonists of Mad Men work, is this fictional agency called the Sterling Cooper Agency, which then gets renamed to the Sterling Cooper Draper Prize. And then, well, I guess spoilers for you, I'm sorry. Basically, Sterling Cooper is this fictional agency where all the main characters work. And the main character is Don Draper, played by John Hamm. And Don Draper is this creative executive at Sterling Cooper and is widely regarded as this creative genius with a mysterious and dark side. Don Draper is a bit of a womanizer, has a wife and kids, but cheats on his wife and is very much into alcohol and, yes, cheating on his wife is very much a thing he does. But it's like, it's this sort of a character that is torn between his creative side and his dark side and his mysterious side, where he doesn't want to talk about his past, he doesn't want to talk about his childhood, he doesn't want to talk about the dramas and the traumas that he had growing up. Really fascinating character. And the idea of Mad Men is that you have this ensemble of other characters, other executives, other writers, secretaries, the president of the company, competing agencies, and clients. And you wouldn't guess that a TV show about an advertising agency dealing with clients and writers could be an exciting show, but it really is, because of the way that the creator of the series, Matthew Weiner, was able to really dig in the backstory and the subtle psychological traits of all the characters on Mad Men. And this is the kind of TV show where you gotta pay attention to what happens on screen, to the mannerism of people, to the subtle details of dialogues between two characters. But something that I really love, and I've always loved, is personally, I'm a Don Draper fan, not because of what he does in his personal life. I very much dislike that, but there are some scenes in Mad Men that I've personally quoted and linked on Mac Stories many, many times about the idea of creativity and the idea of new and the idea of using nostalgia as a theme, as an idea to sell products to people. This is the kind of stuff that Mad Men really explores, the combination of selling feelings as products. And that's something that Don Draper absolutely excels as a character at selling to his clients. There are my favorite moments in Mad Men, which you can already see in the very first episode, is the Don Draper pitches to his clients. Mm-hmm. The way that he commands the room and he commands everybody's attention sometimes by pulling these pitches and this idea right out of thin air, because he's maybe drunk or he didn't actually sleep the night before, even though he had a big client meeting coming up. But his creative side takes control of the situation and he's able to find these ideas and find inspiration in all sorts of situations from his personal life. And he's able to use those to his advantage when crafting an advertising campaign. This is a very unique period drama. I don't think anything has ever come close to Mad Men in terms of unique story, unique setting, the recreation of a very particular time period, the memorable cast of characters. There's an excellent Elizabeth Moss that plays the character of Peggy Olson, that starts as a secretary at Sterling Cooper, and there's Christina Hendricks also playing as his superior, another secretary of Sterling Cooper. There's January Jones playing Don Draper's wife. There's Jared Harris playing another character, I believe in the second season. Oh gosh, there's so many characters in here I love this show, and watching the first 3 episodes with Sylvia again reminded me how much I love it and how much I needed to watch it again as a now that I'm a bit older compared to 15 years ago when it started. I was 19 and I didn't know a lot of things about life. And now I think I do, sort of, maybe. But yes, I'm appreciating this show a lot more, and I'm appreciating watching these characters do their thing, but also the bigger themes of America in that decade and how society is changing as you're watching Mad Men.
Oh, that sounds really great. I really should get around to watching this. I have not done that. I was just looking on Just Watch to see where this is streaming, and it looks like AMC has it, and of course you can buy it on iTunes.
Yeah, just get the complete series. It's not too expensive.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I was just thinking, I should just buy this and watch it in high def on my new TV. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. All right, Federico, that's it for another episode of Mac Stories Unwind. Thanks again to Backblaze for sponsoring this episode. You can find me and Federico at macstories.net. Federico is at Vitici on Twitter and Instagram. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees, JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you next Friday, Federico.
Ciao, John.